Keeping with our current trend of always catching the next person who joins, I thought it might be a good idea to shift gears to automotive. So we also have Mr. Parna from Minda out here, and Mr. Satej from FIAT. So now, automotive is an interesting one, right? Because if I were to say characterize in the recent past, right, automotive industry, I would probably say weak demand, existing oversupply, perhaps a changing landscape on how mobility itself is being viewed or taken. I mean, not to mention the pandemic, right? Like it's completely changed our notions of mobility as a necessity. Probably automotive is the worst hit, you would say, during the pandemic. Well, at least to some companies, right? And what one view at least seems to be that to survive something like this, you need to be a Tesla. And by that, what people are usually referring to is you should not be a car company. You should be something else. How is your organization adjusting to this trend? Whether you are a Fiat or whether you're a components or parts manufacturing to OEMs, as in the case of when people come out and say mobility as such is dead, and in order to survive the future, you should not be a car company. What are your thoughts, sir? Perhaps we can open it to Mr. Satej, and then we could hear from Mr. Parna.
Yeah, good evening, Nandan. See, as a OEM, the roadmap and the approach for mobility is more to do with connected cars and the mechanism which goes along with the future generation car. I mean, Tesla is a long milestone, but from now till that stage, there are a lot of connected car options being demanded and being addressed by all the OEMs, and which comes with car infotainment, the navigation, as well as the after-sales service and the attendance part. So in that, from the product perspective, many things are in demand, many things are being addressed, and there is more traction happening with the technology part. With respect to service and overall deployment of mobility in the business functions, business processes, and agility perspective, there is a lot more which is happening from the serviceability aspect. That is right from showroom digitalization, driving the demand, and AR, VR, those aspects, deploying those on mobility platforms, the after-sales service at dealer, as well as training aspects. Many use cases are being talked about for mobility deployments. So that completes, that covers the whole chain, right from consumer till the shop floor, in terms of various stages or a life cycle. A car goes from building to delivery to use, kind of a thing.
Interesting. Mr. Parna, your thoughts?
Yeah, hi. First of all, thank you, Professor Nandan, and thank you, the GAVS team and CalZoom team for inviting me for this session. Actually, you pointed out very rightly from 2018 onwards, 18 October onwards, over the last almost 2.5 years, the industry is struggling in terms of, whether it is cash flow, whether it is volume, whether it is capacity utilization, whether it is workforce, management, because we're one of the largest workforce, I will say employer in the with respect to other industries. But I think we are struggling a lot in terms of in all these things. And then obviously the disruptions have also happened in our industry in terms of case. Now, in case of case like connected, autonomous, shared, and electric, I think the autonomous part is slightly getting delayed in terms of India. But if you see connected and shared mobility and electric, I believe a lot of innovations and a lot of advancement has happened with the OEMs. Now, as far as the AI use cases are concerned, there are two sides of the use cases. One side of the use case is related with the consumer of the car, and the other side of the use case is related with the industrial use case. So, say for an example, the shop floor, the plant, the supply chain, HR, finance, and all other processes. So, if you just devise your strategy into two, one is the industrial side and another is the commercial and the customer side, I think the use cases will be vast. Now, which of the current use cases we are having, I'll cover both because I also worked 10 years for the OEMs and now for almost 5 years with the ancillary organization. And previously also I worked 2 years with ancillary. So total 17 years I have worked in auto space, both the sides. So, in the OEM side, the use cases are especially revolving around, telematics, IoT. And IoT, when I say it's consumer IoT with respect to the car, and then obviously analytics. So when we say connected cars, the use cases will be like, since connected car is going to be a computer on the wheels, so everything is going to be, managed, or I will say synchronized with respect to artificial intelligence or data analytics or telematics or connectivity with the ecosystem within the car, with the sensors, with the consumer, with the driver, and many other stuff. So there are a lot of use cases, and I believe the use cases are right now evolving slowly. If you see the EU market or the US market, things are in an advanced stage. But in India, since there are two-dimensional things, so one side we have the economies of scale and also affordability, and on another side we have the innovation and other things. So I think both has to be adjusted, and that's one of the reasons things are going always slow in India. But once the adoption starts for electric vehicle, obviously the push will happen for the autonomous and the other side as well. As far as the AI in the shop floor or the industrial AI side is concerned, we have use cases in 3 or 4 areas. Mostly I'll cover all the areas one by one. First is the manufacturing side. So when I say manufacturing, it's basically inventory control, inventory predictions. And why inventory? Because inventory is one of your largest contributor or major contributors in terms of cash flow and working capital. So ancillaries are mostly struggling with these are the 2 areas. One is cash flow and working capital. At the forefront, there is another challenge called customer forecasting, because of the market disruptions, the forecasts are also going haywire, and no forecasts are getting made due to all the OEMs are struggling and the consumer market is not picking up, and all the pandemics are happening one by one, the waves are coming. So I think this is another area like where we want to do a accurate internal forecasting with the help of AI, and then how we can achieve that with respect to the macro and micro level issues. So these are then capacity planning. Say for an example, in ancillaries, lot of capex investment is there in terms of buying machines or new line setup. So if you know your capacities very well, suppose some of the plants there are excess capacities available, and you can shift those the excess capacities for making the spikes or something like that, then your capacity planning becomes much easier. Manpower planning is another area, because we employ around 23,000 people, and obviously we need to understand the current effectivity or optimization of utilization of people in terms of the manpower planning. Skill is another area. Say for an example, we have done some projects, some pilot projects actually. Say for an example, in one of the lines, there is a critical skill is required. So we have 3 types of skill: critical, semi-skilled or highly skilled, and low skilled, maybe 4 types you can say. So what kind of skill is required at what kind of line and what kind of activities also can be planned and is getting planned through the AI tools. One more thing, rider, I want to just put, and that's a fact, especially in automotive. I can tell you one thing: the accuracy of AI predictions are approximately 60 to 70% and not beyond that. Due to, it's not because of the failure of AI or machine learning. It is basically the problem with respect to the data availability. Either incorrect data is there, or the masters are not correct, or the kind of data we need to do the predictions are not available. So that's one of the major reasons the accuracy hangs around 60 to 70%. Apart from the two last,
Mr. Parna, the accuracy is specifically what?
Accuracy of predictions.
Predictions.
Yeah, when we say predictions through AI, because AI is basically used for the predictions, whether it is cash prediction, whether it is supply chain prediction, or some other areas. So two other more last areas I will focus before I conclude. So one is HR. So in HR, we are having some use cases, and we are going for some use cases, small POCs we have done in terms of prediction of attritions. So which are the employees more vulnerable, at which age group, which gender, which location, which because we have 60 plus locations. So which location, which plant, which business, which unit, or which city, then what is the demography of those attritions? I mean, what kind of qualification they have, which background they came from. So a lot of data is available, and we have success factor also implemented last year. So through which we are able to do certain analytics based on the data available. And the last but not the least is in finance. Finance, why is important? Because in ancillary organization, two areas are extremely important. One is manufacturing, and second is supply chain. Why supply chain? Because we are also dealing with tier 2s, tier 3s, and tier 4s. Now, when we are talking about tier 2, 3, and 4, we have a lot of issues in terms of delivery, quality, safety, capacity planning, cash flow issues, working capital issues. So there, this AI tool is, we have some tools. I'm not naming them right now because it will be a lot of time will be wasted there. So those tools are having supply chain financing policies and supply chain financing systems available in that. And there, when we look at the data sets, we can easily predict whom to fund, whom not to fund, whom we should provide advance payments, whom not to provide advance payments. What are the issues going to happen in terms of delivery, quality, safety with respect to all types of suppliers? So we have suppliers like platinum level, gold level, silver level suppliers. Who is performing at what level? All these predictions and where to invest, where to focus upon, where the issues are going to come, where issues are not going to come, which of the suppliers may go for bankruptcy, which may not go for bankruptcy. This is another use case in terms of your supply chain financing and planning. So I think these are the use cases. So if I summarize, one is the manufacturing side. I am now not discussing the OEM side because it's already covered.
Yeah.
One is the manufacturing side, which captures your inventory planning, capacity planning, manpower planning, and skill. Second is the HR, which talks about attritions and potential, threats or risks in terms of your employees. And the third area is supply chain planning in terms of finance. So these are the generic use cases we have. Apart from the lot of other use cases are also going to come up, because use cases are something which are always evolving. So anyway, so I think those are the things, will be in future definitely going to come up, and obviously we will be working on those. Last but not the least, AI single-handedly cannot work. So along with AI, we also are using largely, IoT and data analytics. So when big data analytics I'm talking about. So these three technologies combined is actually doing the disruption in the digital space or the IT space overall in the organization, where when we talk about auto ancillaries. Thank you.
Very interesting. So, Mr. Balaji, Mr. Chandra from GABS, one question I have for you is, we heard from both Mr. Satej and Mr. Parna a whole host of areas where AI can play a role in, the auto sector. Where do you think, AIOps or concepts from AIOps can help and facilitate a change in the auto industry?
Thanks, Professor. One question I will have for both Satej and Parna, because especially the manufacturing sector is, I'm presuming in your manufacturing production lines or supply chain process which you have a lot of monitoring elements to ensure that things are happening on time and things are not happening on time, right? How do you tend to analyze those monitoring data? One is on the business side, another one is your entire IT is actually supporting all of those systems, your entire IT organization. How are you actually monitoring that every node, every component, every piece of what is creating their entire business process is actually working the way it should be working? Do you have substantial monitoring mechanisms in place? Do you have command centers looking at it and looking at how things are happening from a IT system supporting those business processes?
See,
go ahead, Mr. Parna.
Yeah. So, see, basically, we have done around 5 implementations of IoT across the group at this point of time. So wherever we have implemented IoT, the data is automatically coming from the machines or the lines, and then we have the the analytics made at the back end, and we have a dashboard to display all these things. And the dashboard is available to senior management, middle management, and also in some of the cases the junior management. So that is one of the mechanisms. Second mechanism is, since it's a large location-based organization, so we already have SAP or the ERPs. I mean, so those ERPs ensure the data capturing happens on a manual basis today. Obviously, when we go for complete IoT, the data capturing also will happen through the system itself. As on date, right now, so for 5 locations, as I was sharing, that we have already IoT, and where the data is automatically coming from the machines, whether it is related with OEE, the productivity, safety related data, quality, all this data is flowing through the systems automatically. And obviously those are integrated with in the backend with the ERP. And then we have a BI layer, which we call the data warehouse layer, from where we do the data churning, the ETL process and other things, and then it is published in the dashboard. So we have around 600 dashboard users as well in the group, and we have implemented around 3 years back. So these dashboards. So that is available, as a mechanism. But yes, I mean, AI is one thing which we are in a very, very, say pilot stage at this point of time. IoT we have already tested and it's working very good. AI, as I told you, the data is either not correct or rather, if not fully available, or it is, incomplete. And that is one of the reasons the accuracies happen only to the tune of 60 to 70%. That is what we have seen so far.
Understand. Mr. Satej, your viewpoint, sir?
See, I would say there is a lot of data available in terms of triggers and IoT devices, sniffers, and going through PLC. But how to use that data for a proactive monitoring, it's a challenge. Okay. So which means a lot of data points are picked up, captured. They also go to the ERP for business process continuity. What happens practically are the break fixes or the breakdowns, and how do we attend those? And then after that has happened, how do we do a RC and prevent those? So challenge is that how do we put an intelligence or a cell in spite of having various dashboards to make a preventive mechanism and a team to take a proactive action. That is a challenge which we face, and that's where the managerial or the operational management part is an issue and challenge to take it further.
Understand. Yes. Interesting.
Sir,
over to you, Professor. And Chandra, yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Chandra?
My thoughts here, Professor, on your question on role of AI or AIOps in automotive industry.
Mm-hmm.
See, gone are the days where the IT systems are used only for IT. Today, IT systems are used everywhere.
Yeah.
Particularly in this digital transformation world, this is used very heavily in the business. And any device, in fact, today, most of the device, whether it's a medical device or even the machine that is used to manufacture some of the parts of the car, all of them comes with an interface to which you can connect and collect the data. Today, none of the systems are non-IT connected interface. So as long as you have an interface and you have a system to collect the data, and there is a role for AI to play. Now, Parna talked about the prediction, connected cars, and one of the use cases for AI in automotive industry is to predict the failure of the component. Today, most of the cars comes today with completely digital, and you can actually collect the car data and make use of it. The Dematic system, if you can say the Dematic system, I'm not sure whether it is used in automotive industry, but definitely it is used in FMCG and manufacturing, which actually handles the supply chain, packaging, and the shipping and all. So we are actually in one of the customer engagement, we are actually monitoring those Dematic systems, and we actually identify the problems in the system. And many times we actually prevented the outages because the Dematic system was about to have into that. So like the way, I think wherever there is a place to collect the data, I think there is a place for AI. I think I'm sure definitely there is a lot in automotive industry also.
Very interesting, Chandra.